took your favorite game and made a movie so bad you had to spew. What's a nerd to do? Well, listen to 8-Bit Movie Review with Josh and Andrew. It's 8-Bit Movie Review.
Welcome back, gamers. This is Andrew Gonzalez.
And I'm Josh Edgington.
And this is 8-Bit Movie Review, bitches. And we're back to discuss... Well, you know what? I forgot to introduce this. But you already know who this is. This is Andrew Gonzalez.
No, you
I already
said
did
our
it.
names, you
Yeah,
fucking
This is
idiot.
why I'm not allowed to smoke weed before we discuss.
Jesus
But I'm
Christ.
just so excited, Josh, because we're talking about a fucking awesome game today. Part of our...
Talking about Daydreamin' Davy for the NES.
Part of our monthly video game discussion. Now, what... Daydream Dave. How was that?
Well,
Like,
he daydreams, and then he gets into adventures.
Fuck you. We're actually talking about 2018's Game of the Year, God of War. We have a lot to go over, so we're just going to hop into it because as for Gaming Zone, I know we haven't done it in a while, but like I've been pretty much slowly playing the same game. And Josh, you were mentioning that you haven't really gamed much recently.
No, not at all, actually. No console gaming for me whatsoever. A little bit of mobile gaming here or there, but nothing worth mentioning. I'm just trying to keep my hands nice and clean before God of War Ragnarok comes out in 2 weeks.
Oh, and as of this recording, Josh, how many days left? You said 2 weeks, but we know we're counting.
So I mean, I wasn't, but I can look up exactly. Today is October 29th, and it comes out in let's see, 11 days.
Oh, man. I'm so fucking excited, but
I've already purchased it, and whenever I turn on my PlayStation 5, I just see like the icon and a countdown to when I can download it, like pre-download it before the game is available to play on that Wednesday.
I'm trying to decide if I want to get the digital version or if I want to get the launch edition. Because the thing is that I got like a $30 gift card to PlayStation Store for my brother, so I can get like the digital copy if I want. But I know they're coming out with a launch edition. I don't really know what it's coming out with, but I think there's like some particular weapon, well, not weapons, like skins probably, or armor you can particularly get or something like that.
I don't care.
But I do like having the solid copy because what I really want is Best Buy sometimes gives you like the steel bookcase like cover or something like that. And yeah, I don't know if they're gonna do that this time, but then I don't have to go to the store or wait for a delivery.
I already paid for the digital,
and I can get $30 off it because I have that gift card. So I'm kind of torn between it. You know, I'll probably get the digital. You know.
Yeah, I don't really need physical copies of games anymore. I think with a lot of new games, even if you get a physical copy, as soon as you install what's on the disc, they're like, well, here's 40 more gigs of updates.
But make sure you stick the disc in there when...
Yep,
you know.
gotta have the disc in there before you can't play it, even though we've downloaded 100 gigs worth of updates.
True. And, you know, at first I hated that you had to keep, like, deleting games and then, like, reinstalling you if you want to play a game. But I guess it's the same as, like, putting a disc in or not. Like, because the thing is you have the cloud storage. When you have that cloud storage, it really doesn't matter. Like, they give you plenty of space, too. I don't even remember how much it is, but I know I have a lot of games saved on my PlayStation cloud.
Yeah, I mean, PS5, I think, is, like, 900 gigs right off the bat.
Well, I mean for the cloud, because 900 gigs isn't even a lot.
Yeah.
But
I don't even think I've tapped into cloud storage whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Just for save files, I think.
Well, yeah, that's it. Typically what I use it for, in which that memory is like small, so that's why like I'll usually delete a game once I'm like done playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, I'll probably just end up getting the digital copy. It just makes more sense. You know, I do have physical copies of some stuff, but it just typically just sits there, you know?
Yep.
And I don't really play half of those games because all the ones that I've really liked, I usually get digital for it, so.
Yeah. I don't think I have more than like 2 or 3 PS5 games physically. I might have one, honestly.
I just wish they went the method of like digital games being cheaper, because I feel like at the point where you're buying physical copy, you're paying a certain percentage that would go to, you know, what goes into making the discs, as well as like the, you know, the case and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Well, I think typically with games anyway is eventually you do get discounts on games when you purchase them digitally. You just kind of have to wait for those summer sales or fall sales, or PlayStation Store does all sorts of discounts.
Yeah, that's
randomly.
true. That's true. So, Josh, I know you're a big fan of this franchise. This is one of your favorite. Honestly, it's
I
one
actually hate this game.
of like I would say besides Resident Evil, I know like this is like a favorite of yours, like one of your favorite franchises, correct?
I wouldn't say that. I have played the 3 main games. I think I also played one of the PSP games. It might have been Ascension, if that was one of them. But really, I would say God of War 2018 is probably in my top 5 games of all time.
Okay. I think because I think you're one of the people I used to always talk to about playing these franchises and stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the original games. I think for when they came out, they were a lot different as far as an action fantasy game that we'd seen before. Very brutal. The combat was, I'd say, more focused on like button combos as opposed to in the new game where it's more you're tactically attacking and like you utilize your companion a little more. Where in the first game you're just like, you know, do these combos or fucking button mash and mash spells and just
Circle, I know, is a big one that was
brutally
used a lot.
attack everyone and scream while you're doing it. And you know, nothing to take away from the original voice actor who I don't know, I'm not sure what his name is, and he was great for the time, but I am very glad that when they reintroduced the character for the 2018 game, they went with someone who not only could have the stature to do the mocap and to give Kratos like a very like big imposing character, but also the voice is more of a Kratos who is older, trying to change, trying to be a father, trying to be a role model, not trying to just murder everything all the time.
Christopher Judge definitely does like a way better job than the original guy, who I'm looking up right now was Terrence C. Carson. And I do what you mean, like, no, you mean Christopher Judge does a good portion of like I believe it's like the acting part of the motion cap, and then the other guy who I forgot what his name was, but we talked about it on a previous podcast, who is, I don't know if he got fired, but I know he's in court right now for a lot of like sexual allegations with like minors. We talked about this. You don't remember that? Not Christopher Judge. Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos, is fine, but the other motion cap actor of God of War, I forgot what his name was, has been going through court for like, you know, that's why I thought there was going to be...
What did he do mocap for? Because Christopher Judge did the mocap for Kratos in the entire game, because they were doing him and the boy the entire game. Like they acted out everything. Because that was the big difference, where in the original games it was look at the scale of everything around Kratos, and that's what made those games crazy, especially the third game. Like right at the beginning when you're climbing up with all the Titans on Mount Olympus trying to attack the last of the Greek gods. Like they do all these wide angle shots showing how large scale everything is. Where in this game, you're just always right over Kratos' shoulder. It never cuts away from that point of view other than when you die. Because they really wanted you to feel like you were that character.
I believe, and I'm trying to see if it's him who had the allegations against him. I could be wrong, but I believe it's like the combat. I don't want to look it up constantly while I'm on here. Sorry, I'm unprepared today, guys. I think it was the combat motion cap guy who got in trouble.
I heard nothing of that. So.
What did we talk to? Dude, I'm not making it up. It happened.
Okay. Well, you don't have any info on it, so
I did have info on it.
Well, where is it?
I talked about it in a previous episode. I don't have it up right now.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know who this person is. He's not Christopher Judge, so it doesn't matter to me. He's not Boy, so it doesn't matter.
Joseph Gapp, the motion capture of God of War Kratos actor for multiple games in the series, including the latest God of War reboot in 2018, was arrested on the morning of April 6th and is accused of having sexual explicit communications with a minor across state lines. This is from the Los Angeles
That's just
police.
how they did it in Greece, dude.
Well, that's what he was saying. You know, he's like,
It was different times.
but I'm pretty sure he just does like maybe it's walking around. I don't see what actually he did, but you know, I'm definitely with the acting scenes. You know, it's Christopher Judge, but because you know, who knows what exactly he does. But
This is not important to include in this episode.
well, I'm just talking. Yeah, I think it's important.
You spend 5 minutes like, let me look it up. I gotta prove Josh wrong.
Well, you were looking at me like I was like making it up, so I was just you know.
I didn't say you were. It's just you didn't have the info right up. Well, it was a guy, and
well,
he
I
banged
did
a bunch
before,
of kids.
and I didn't have it up now. That's all I'm saying. Like,
So someone who's not important enough to actually be in the game.
Well,
Hello.
well, he wasn't all the serious.
He's
but-
good for him. On his God of War money, he went and banged kids. What a good guy.
Well, now you're bringing it to a different level, Josh.
He likes boys.
Oh, I was gonna cut all this out. Now I have to keep this in because that was perfect. Oh no. Oh. So I would say we were talking about the history of our history of the games. Now, this is probably one of my favorite franchises, but the thing is, Josh, so you've played all three of the originals.
Main three, yeah.
Main three. I skipped the second one. I think it was because I wanted to play it. I had the demo on PlayStation 2, but weren't they only releasing it on PlayStation 3? I don't really remember. I remember.
No, the third one was PS3 only.
Okay, that one was fucking awesome. One of my favorites. So I would say I actually played all of them except the second one because my brother for Christmas one year got me when they was it the Chains of Olympus and Age of a
Those are PSP games, I
Yeah.
think, right?
yeah, and then they were ported on a DVD for
PS2.
PS2, and they didn't add much to like they were fun, but I think it was like
You could play the 3 games without playing the in-between games.
and weren't the weapons
It's just like, do you want to know about Kratos' brother that's never been mentioned? Do you want to know about his mom?
yeah.
Like, no, I don't care.
And they also, I remember in one of them the weapons weren't even that good. I think your blades just changed colors, right, and just had different like abilities.
They did that at the beginning of everyone. It's like, oh my god, Kratos has to lose all his powers. Here's the Blades of Chaos. Here's the Blades of Athena.
Yep.
Here's the Titan Blades. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, they just changed that up a little bit, and like
So original.
I remember like I like playing them, but I remember those ones were more of like kind of brawlers in a way, like where it was just like tons and tons of you'd be stuck in an area and you couldn't like leave until you beat everyone in that area and like you'd move on.
That's those God of War games.
Yeah, that's how it was.
It was just you'd get to different areas and here's a shitload of enemies and kill them and then you move on to the next room.
I think that's what I liked a lot about this one, with the 2018 one, where it's like you could run away if you really wanted to.
Sometimes.
Oh yeah, there were some times that you would get stuck in.
You wouldn't get the prompt to like get back in your ship or something
Yeah.
if you engaged enemies.
ship. It was a canoe, man. That's no ship.
Whatever. Fucking rowboat. Who cares?
Tell me a story, Papa. There was a frog and a scorpion.
Yeah, I love when he tells stories and the boy's just like, that was the worst story I've ever heard.
Yeah, he tells terrible stories. When you get what's his name, the head,
Mimir.
when you get Mimir, like those stories are cool. I like there was
They're
a
great
Yeah,
stories.
we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, as for my history, yeah, like when this game first came out, I never played a game like it. I thought it was fucking awesome. Was pumped to play the second one, but like it just didn't look good on the PlayStation 2. So like I was kind of like, when I get a PlayStation 3, I'll play this. But it wasn't until when I got a PlayStation 3, I got God of War 3. And that game, starting off, you're just riding on a fucking Titan that's climbing Mount Olympus, and that's what the best thing about these games were, like the cinematic, like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like they were cinematic, but you were able to be a part of it,
Yes.
you know, and that's what I thought was so cool about these fucking games and why I loved them. And just the story alone, a guy just fucking killing off gods, like and then when the third one happened, I thought, you thought it was over. You thought that was it.
Well, he did stab all the way through himself with a sword, a god-killing sword. So you're like, well, I mean, he's probably dead.
Yeah.
But then the very last shot is like, where's Kratos' body?
Yep, I remember that. And then where they took the franchise was like, it was just unbelievable. And
Yeah, I think they realized they couldn't do more of the same. They needed to go a different angle. And thankfully, they made the choice to age him up, to show that he tried to be a different person. He tried to live a normal life. But then,
the gods came a knocking.
I try to get out and they pull me back in.
and that's where we get into like what our first impressions were of God of War 2018. Like how you felt like going in, obviously we talked about last episode how you felt when you first saw the trailer, but when you came in, you're familiar with the gameplay, you're familiar with the franchise. Like how different do you remember feeling when you were like, this doesn't feel, were you like, this doesn't feel quite like a God of War game?
Yes, because the original games were very heavily reliant on fast-paced, I won't say just button mashing, but you could be effective in just button mashing. It was more based on button combos to do heavy things and switching between multiple weapons that you acquire across the entire game, where this one was more calculated attacking. Your combos start out very simple and you build on them because this game was more RPG action than it was like just hack and slash like the original series. So, but the one thing you notice is the heavy focus on the story and the characters, which set it aside from the original, where the story and the characters are there, but they feel second to the action, the bold things that they're willing to show. Like, I can't believe, remembering when I think it was the third one, when he rips the head off of Perseus, the sun god, and going through those button animations to like rip the dude's fucking head off. I was like, do I want to hit these buttons and see this? Yes, I did.
Yeah, I noticed they didn't, because like there was always something fucked up you were doing in any of those games. Well, this is the same game where like you pretty much punch Zeus to a bloody pulp to the point where the screen's just red.
Yeah.
In the third one, where they didn't do much of that in. Is that what you were saying? In 2018, they didn't really do much of like let me pull this guy's head off and like.
I mean,
it did.
There's a lot of brutal stuff. Like some of the Draugr, when you stun them enough, you just fucking rip them in half.
That's true.
There's a lot of pretty brutal things that happen in this game, so I just don't think it's not as frantic. It's definitely more precise button controlling and,
Well, I think also
parrying more, way more,
Way
like
more.
parrying and
Definitely
using
when
a
you get-
shield was a big thing. Like you didn't have a shield originally.
definitely when you get down to the Valkyries, that's like hugely fucking important. Is the
Fucking
parry?
Valkyries.
And if you don't mess with parrying, then you're just
You're just done.
done. It like
Yeah, I mean, like I told you when you were replaying the game recently, I said the whole game you can go through it just being super aggressive and fucking shit up with the blades and the Leviathan axe. But then when you get the Valkyries, you basically just keep your shield up and find your little moments to just chip away. But then keep that shield up because it'll block so many of their
Oh, yeah.
random attacks.
And the cool thing is you can upgrade your combos with the shield, where you can do a lot more aggressive parrying, a lot more aggressive combos with it, which I thought was cool and definitely what made it a big difference from the original games. Not just because you had a shield, but also the combat they changed drastically, where like you can plan what kind of upgrades you want for every weapon. Like you don't have to upgrade everything, because if you do, which I have, you don't use half of the stuff depending on your fighting style. You don't use like some of the things. Like there's some combos I didn't really give a shit about. Like the axe throwing stuff, I was not really a big
I
on
did that all the time. Just throwing the axe at people's heads, sometimes pinning someone to a wall with the axe, keep him over there while I'm just pummeling the shit out of another guy, rip him in half, recall the axe, and then attack something else. Like I will say, in my first playthrough, I remember not ever using any of the combos which revolved around the switch stance, like
Oh.
Southpaw. But those are some of the coolest fucking combos for all the weapons.
My second gameplay, those combos were fucking awesome. And then if you got used to, you can use those, and if you were good at switching real quick from the Blades of Chaos, you can quickly go right into those combos as well.
Mhm. Yep.
And that's another big thing that was, I feel, a change in this, the combos. Like
Yeah.
the huge, like the way that they decided to go in this, I thought was a good move for the franchise. It didn't seem like you were just playing the same game over and over again. And, you know, the tone was a lot different. Like even the way, like I kind of even felt like Kratos's movements and the way you moved him too. Like he wasn't that quick. Like he can be quick, but like you kind of felt how tired he was. Like they kind of made the mechanics to show like, yeah, he's still fucking strong, but he's just so when we meet him, he looks exhausted. Well, his wife did just die, but like,
Yeah. But also even after that, after the first boss fight with Baldur, where he's just struggling to regenerate as he's walking back to the cabin. It's like, yeah, you didn't see that in the first games.
yeah. Now it's like just showing he's older. He's,
Yeah.
you know, he's too old for this shit.
Yeah, he's Danny Glover at this point.
And you know, that I you know, playing it at first I was like, this just feels so different. And you definitely played it before me because I got a PlayStation 4 later, and I just remember you telling me like, just get ready, it's different, but you're gonna like it. Like, you know, and the exploration was a huge difference.
Yeah, it's way less of a linear game. It is still linear to some aspects, but it does open up pretty quickly. It also kind of feels like almost a Metroidvania a little bit, because you do have to wait to do certain things or get certain abilities, certain weapons, things like that to progress in certain areas.
I was thinking that as I was like, would this be kind of considered a little bit like a Metroidvania? Because you can wander a little bit, a good amount, but you're still like, I've learned my second gameplay that sometimes like because I was like, okay, this is a story point. Like I play with most open world style type games. This isn't fully open world, but it's close. I would be like, okay, before I go to the main thing, I'm going to see what side quests I can open up, and I'm going to go around. But I kind of wasted my time because like you get to these areas, but you're stuck, and you're going to have to go back and visit them anyway.
Because once you first get to the Lake of Nine, you have not interacted with Jormungandr, the world serpent. So their body is covering several parts of the map. And you have to progress the story for it to actually, you know, you talk to it, and then, oh, now the water levels receded, and all of these areas that it was blocking are now available to us. So yeah, you could explore, but you were limited.
But then even when it opens up, you don't even have some weapons that don't like get those red vines out of the way.
Mhm.
Like there's just all different things. So it's better I've learned to play a good portion of the game before you start wandering.
Yeah, there is worth in exploring no matter at what point.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're always going to find resources or get experience or money or things like that will help you. And I mean, Kratos even says it, like the boy's like, oh, should we do this or do you want to explore more? And he's like, we will explore only for resources that make us stronger.
I
It's
love
like,
that
are
he
you
has
talking to
keep
the
saying-
fucking character? You talking to the player?
Wink. That's pretty much what
Kratos just like,
Kratos-
wink.
He just turns around like, yes,
Boy. Not my boy. You.
you boy.
You boy.
But I'm a girl. Shut up, boy.
You're a boy, girl.
Boy. But yeah, I think that's what I really enjoyed more about what they decided to do. It's you're not as on the rails as the original games. Like you did do some exploratory, and there was like, you know, puzzle rooms where you had to figure out.
You couldn't go back in any of
You
the
c-
original
you couldn't
God
go-
of War games.
Yeah, you couldn't go back, but sometimes they'd have like a little exploratory area, but it's all set. Like you're set.
Yeah.
You got to find puzzles to open up. To
Yeah,
get
you
to the
can't
next
go
area.
back to the first area of the game in any
No.
of those old games. You can do that in this game.
Yeah, and that's what was such a huge difference in
Yeah.
this. You know, but yeah, that, you know, when I first played it, it immediately hooked me in, which you told me was going to happen, and it ended up just being like it was such a fun game. Even like, you know, I know we're kind of harping on this part, but like even the differences were the difference in armor. You can equip armor in this one, and
Mhm.
each armor had, and you know, I'm glad I listened to Josh because
You could suit it to your playstyle.
yeah, and it was perfect. Like I remember I was my second run, I started really getting into the armor, but I wasn't paying attention to the perks. I was just seeing like, oh, this has higher defense. And I was like, dude, I got like this best armor, but some of these people, I'm still getting my ass kicked. But I'm like, I have the armor that I could get in the beginning of the game, and I just upgraded it, and it's high up. And you were like, I think at this point, I might have even had like the armor you want to use to fight the Valkyries. And you were like, or I had that armor. I don't know, but I had really good fucking armor. And you were like, why aren't you using that? If you do, like use it for the perks. And I'm like, yeah, but the defense isn't as high as this armor. And you're like, dude, just fucking use it.
Yeah, another thing you don't realize unless you know is that the armor you have equipped, the stats, are also based on the sockets that you put into it, because you can add little gems into your
Yes.
equipment that gave you more. And if you compare new and old armor, you can also manually swap those back and forth. And usually that will show you like, oh, it's not that much better if I take the sockets out.
And I did. And man, whew, that armor. I think it was the Valkyrie armor. And I was like trying to fight
that's like the best armor.
and because I was like, dude, I thought it would be the best, but this, like, you know, like you were like the perks alone, man. And I kept
One of them has like a high chance to activate on any hit, regardless of if it's axe or blades, for a boost to strength, defense, constitution, like all this shit. A high chance
yeah.
on every hit.
And dude, those Valkyries, man. I guess we could get in. Well, first before we get into like the Valkyries and stuff, because you know we're gonna talk about characters and get into that, but
Yeah.
just, you know, there's a lot of new things they implemented, and I think they fucking knocked it out of the park. So, you know, now that we discussed our first impressions and stuff like that, Josh, do you want to give a brief breakdown of the story for people who have not played this game? And if you haven't, you'll be doing yourself a favor if you pick this up. Definitely pick this up before Ragnarok, because Ragnarok is a direct sequel. So.
Absolutely. You will have no clue what's going on. It'll probably be fine, but they'll make references to things that happen in the first game, and it won't make sense to you. So very brief. Kratos is now older. He's living as a man, a very big man.
Who can just rip a tree down and hoist it over his
Picking
shoulder.
whole trees up on his
son,
shoulder.
His son never questions that, really.
Yeah,
It's-
there's one point in the game where you push an entire temple and like your son's just like, oh, you're really strong. It's like, no, nobody can do that. Like he picks a temple up and pushes it around on a track to like
Yeah.
reposition it. It's like, yeah, people can't do that. But anyway, you have been living with your wife, Faye, and son, Atreus. And Faye dies, and her last wish is to have her ashes spread from the highest mountain in all the realms. And that's it. And then you do that.
And you just get caught up in some...
And hilarity ensues.
That's Kratos farting because he's an old fart.
Yep.
No, that's pretty much it. And just like, because of who you are, you end up, well, you find out later, you know, we're going to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't played the game and you plan on playing it, this is just, we're going to talk about some stuff. So I would play the game and come back to this if you're going to listen to this episode and have not played the game. But like this whole time, we're thinking that because what is it? Baldur comes and knocks at the door, and like he senses
The
something.
stranger.
Because Faye, what she did was, you know, and she asked for all the trees to be knocked down with her handprint on it, correct?
Yeah, she asked for specific ones because she knew that would then alert the Norse gods to their presence.
Yes. And what we think is that they're after Kratos this whole time, but
Or even the boy. Because I thought that they were coming for him.
I thought they were the boy.
No, they were coming for her.
Oh,
Because Odin was looking for the way to get to Jotunheim, and she knew because you find out she's a giant, the last of them.
she's a big lady. Though
That's
it's-
why when you open the door to Baldur, he says, "Oh, I thought you'd be bigger." And at first you're just like, "Is that a joke because you're a regular sized guy and Kratos is huge?" But it's like, no, he thought he was meeting a giant.
Oh, see, I'm understanding that more now. But also, they do say in the game too that giants weren't, all of them weren't like huge. They were a race of people. Some of them were regular size and just had abilities and stuff like that. So, yeah. But like that makes sense too, because I remember him saying, "Oh, I thought you'd be bigger," and this whole time we think they know who he is,
Mm-hmm.
but they
Well,
don't.
that's the misdirect. They think that because we know Kratos and we know when he was in the first 3 games, he was killing all of the Greek gods. So we assume that now he's in this Norse mythology that they were made aware he's a god killer. So we need to do something about it. And you don't realize until the end of the game, they weren't looking for him at all. They didn't give a fuck about
They
him.
didn't even. I
or
don't think
boy.
they knew who he was.
Yeah.
Like they were just like.
They wanted Faye, who was the last of the giants.
Because
But she did.
That makes sense. Because I don't know why I didn't pick up on that. Because Boulder, at one point,
Baldur.
Baldur. Well, Baldur, you're fighting Baldur. He even goes, "Who are you?"
Yep.
Like, and it's like, well, doesn't he know who he is? Because he said, like, I thought you'd be bigger, and you know, looking at his penis maybe or something like that. I thought you'd be bigger. Boy, and his
That's
dick just
not-
gets.
You have a boy's dick.
But yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you know, like but since he's triggered all these things, it kind of seems like he's still now he's just involved in this. All he wants to do is spread his wife's ashes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we learned that Faye knew every step of the journey they were going to take. So she knew that they had to knock down those trees so that the Norse gods would know that they were there, which would start everything that happened to get to that point. They knew that they would get to the top of the highest realm in Midgard, find Mimir. Mimir would then help them to get to Jotunheim over a long period of time. She knew every single thing that was going to happen because every time you're climbing something, there's like yellow fucking scripture and stuff pointing. All of that she put there. She knew every step that they were going to take.
Well, we find out also at the end of the game that this has been prophesized. Like it's
Well,
been,
that's what
and
that means.
so like she even knew she was gonna meet Kratos.
Yep.
Who knows if she was even in love with him? Like it was just
Probably. I'd say
probably
yes.
yeah. But she knew that he was gonna end up leading her son, who I believe is to be the savior of the giants.
Yes.
And that's what I think this second one. There's gonna be 2 more, right?
I don't think so. I think they said that they're only doing this one. So I think this is going to focus on the 2-year period of time, Thimblewinter, which is when all of the realms start a war, which ends in Ragnarok, which is the destruction of all of the gods.
In this one, it's they're obviously we're gonna probably have a similar map, which I think is gonna be probably a little bit more expanded. Well, also we get to go to the different realms, but everything's gonna be iced over.
Yeah.
So
Because it's the winter before Ragnarok. So we're not going to be rowing around anywhere. We're going to be jumping in like a sled led by wolves or something, being led across the Lake of Nine to get to places. They've already showed that.
yeah,
So.
very interested to see.
And we are definitely going to see the remaining realms that we did not get a chance to go to.
Yeah, because why put them in there when you're why put them in there when you're obviously like gonna not why be like here they are, you're never gonna see these.
Yeah, exactly.
I
We're
thought they were-
going to Asgard in this game. There's no place.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt. So.
And we're gonna see Chris Hemsworth Thor.
No.
Fat Thor is in this though.
I mean, I'd say the image of Thor in this game is probably accurate to what he would really look like.
Because in this game, in the 2018, they do talk about how he's a fat, drunken piece of shit.
That's just the lore of Greek Norse mythology. They're partying all the time, drinking all the time, feasting all the time. He could still be super strong. He
True.
could just be a fat fuck.
True. But we're going to talk about our speculations for that one. I kind of want to go over the characters in the 2018 God of War.
Okay.
We had a whole...
We got Kratos.
Well, yeah, like the main characters, Kratos, Atreus, Sindri and Brock, the blacksmith brothers, which I thought was another thing that they added into this game was you can upgrade your weapons by... Well, they did have smithing in the other ones.
But no,
probably not
you
to this
used the orbs to upgrade your stuff, and that was just from killing things.
But wasn't
and
in the
opening
third
chests.
one there was that famous blacksmith you can go to?
He was a boss fight, and you get weapons from him. You just get a new weapon.
I know he tries to kill you later, and then you end up because he finds out you slept with his
wife.
His wife.
It's one of those mini games where it's like spin the joystick, and you're like,
I was very
here's a bunch of orbs.
disappointed we didn't get any sex games in this one.
Well, his wife just died. Jesus Christ, Andrew.
Maybe the next one he'll make his
What is
son
Atreus just going to stand over to the side and be like, Dad, are you done yet?
Watch me, boy.
This is how you jackhammer a bitch.
Yes, Kratos. Or they'll have like 2 women sitting next to Atreus and reacting like they did. And the other one's like, ooh, ah, ooh, or oh, like. he did it
Ladies and
bad.
gentlemen, you do not want to know what Andrew was doing while he was just making those.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ah, I'm rubbing my boobs right now.
I said they didn't want to know.
In the third one, I know there's like 2 girls watching you, and if you do bad, they're just like, oh no.
He's terrible at this.
Terrible.
No, I think in the third one you fuck Aphrodite, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's I forgot what the blacksmith's name is. That isn't
don't
like
know.
Hades, I think.
No, it's not Hades.
No,
Hades
he's
is the god of
in
the underworld.
Hades. He's in Hades.
I don't know.
I don't remember what his name is.
Well, we're not talking about God of War 3 characters. We're talking
Yes,
about God of War
yes.
2018 characters.
Sindri and Brock I thought was great. I love the brothers. Brock's my favorite. I think.
Yeah, it's a very serious story, so you need comedic elements to it. And these characters are funny. They add a lot of levity.
And then they have her listed as the witch, but I'm trying to remember what her
Freya.
Freya.
Yeah. who we find out is Baldur's mother
Yep.
and Odin's wife.
And when you play it again, it's so obvious. Like there's so many hints.
Yeah.
You know, and she's a great character. She's gonna be, I think, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that they're gonna hint that she's one of the main villains in the next one, but I have a feeling that she's gonna actually. I think she might join you a little bit, but is still like fucking hates you.
Yeah, I think they are definitely making it seem like she'll be a villain. I have a feeling that she'll be in it for a little bit, and then maybe she'll just get killed off.
And it's just crazy. Like, you know, I know we were talking about spoilers, how like you get these special arrows from Sindri, and then like you bump into her, and she's like, "No, you can't. Those kill gods and stuff like that, or something."
She doesn't say anything like that. She's just like, these are cursed. Mistletoe is cursed. Like, don't fuck with it. And you don't realize that it's because it's Baldur's one weakness. And it's the only thing that can remove the spell that she put on him.
And that's all he had to do was take that, and he'd been like, "Oh, I feel fine now." You know, and we didn't really talk about that either. I guess, well, that would go into Baldur. We're talking about Baldur, who, like, you know, Freya's his mother. Freya was overprotective and was like, "I don't want my son to die, so like, I'm gonna make it so that he can't feel pain or die," and like that just makes him like. He
despises her.
Yeah, because the curse is because what he puts on her doesn't just make him not die. He can't feel anything. He
can't get drunk from drinking. He can't fuck anyone. He can't. Well, I mean, he can, but
he doesn't enjoy it.
Won't feel anything. Can't die. He can't be hurt. So he's just lost. He just despises his mother because he wants to just be normal.
And all he had to do was get some mistletoe, and he would have been fine. And when he comes back to it too, he still blames her, which I think I said the other one. He just got over it and see you on the holidays.
We also don't know how long of a period of time.
It's probably been about hundreds of years.
Yeah, so I just think hundreds of years have gone by, and you can't even feel like the sun beating down on you.
Yeah, that would suck. But you'd be super powerful, and you can become an ice man. And like,
how long is that cool for? How many hundreds of years is that cool for until you're like, oh God, can I just die, please?
Wouldn't become just the norm though? You wouldn't even remember what feeling it's like. Well, I guess that would.
That's also what. Yeah, that's why he fucking hates it.
I don't even remember. Which I remember my second playthrough was like, why does this guy not only look familiar, or sound familiar? And first it was what is his name? Samuel Reedus?
Norman Reedus?
I always say Samuel Reedus. I thought it was Norman Reedus playing this character because the voice sounds very familiar, but it's actually Jeremy Davis, which I only know from Lost. What was his fucking name in Lost? It was like just such
I never watched Lost.
I thought you did.
Nope.
Yeah, he played like this.
You and Dan Sullivan tried to show me an episode of Lost, and I thought it was the stupidest fucking show I've ever seen in my life.
I love and hate that show.
It was so dumb.
Oh, Daniel Faraday was the character he played. He was just like this character that was always like, he kind of was like Jeff Goldblum's character in Independence Day, being like,
So Jeff Goldblum?
Kind of like him. But like he wouldn't act like him, but the way he'd think, he'd be like, oh, accelerators, acceleration. That's how we got to destroy things. Like they make fun of it in South Park, like candy. Kids like candy. Candy, sugar, caramel. Caramel gets sticky. We got to make this really sticky. Like that's kind of like what Jeff Goldblum's character was in Independence Day. And that's kind of what Daniel Faraday was in Lost. This is our Lost.
Now I'll watch it.
Yeah, but that's what I was like, oh my God, that guy. But he crushed it as Baldur. I liked Baldur as a character. It is unfortunate. Well, I don't know. We could maybe see his spirit in the new one or anything.
Yeah, you might
like
see him in Helheim, but that boy is dead.
Yeah. You know, I thought that character was interesting. The story with Freya. You know, the character development in this is really good.
Yeah. As far as other characters, we are introduced to Magdi and Modi, the sons of Thor.
Bunch of bitches.
One of them voiced by Troy Baker.
Oh, he did do one? Which one?
The one that gets killed. The All-Father
Magni?
demands it. No, I think, yeah, Magni.
Which I like when you go through Helheim, you kind of see Magni just standing on a cliff, like staring at you with his spirit. And I was like, hey, motherfucker,
I killed you.
remember when I killed you?
Remember when I killed you? Remember when I did that thing where I killed you?
And then
your
Mo-
brother was like, what the fuck?
It is weird because when you meet Modi, which I believe after his brother's killed, he kind of doesn't really put much up of a fight. And
No, because he went back and Thor beat the shit out of him. Because Magni was his heir. He was the one that he deemed worthy to take Mjolnir when he retired or whatever the fuck you want to call it. So when he allowed him to get killed, Thor beat the shit out of him almost to death.
Well, yeah, I remember that. And he just antagonizes Atreus to just like kill him. Is it Atreus or Atreyu? No, Atreyu's
Well, it's not Atreyu. That
that's
was
a
a band
Never-Ending
from the early 2000s.
also the name of the one of the main characters in the Never-Ending Story.
Sure.
Yeah, it was the Indian kid.
Whoa.
He was Indian.
Whoa.
Native American.
Nah, he wasn't. He was definitely that kind of Indian.
Yeah, shut up. If for people
Not
that
the- but the-
Josh is putting the notion for dot on his forehead.
I did nothing.
But Atreus, you know, he because like what Modi does is like insults his mother. He's like, "Your mother."
During the fight, yeah, he insults
well, he
Atreus.
comes back later, and that's when Atreus just stabs him in the neck and then pushes
Yeah.
him off a cliff. And Kratos is like, "That can have repercussions."
There are consequences to killing a god. How do you know? How do you know?
Elmo was.
How do you know? Elmo likes killing gods.
That's what I want. Elmo in Godland.
I'm the god of war. My real name is Loki.
Oh my god.
Spoiler.
But yeah, so that's what ended up happening, and you know, I guess we're gonna see the repercussions for that in Ragnarok, because I bet you Thor is gonna be coming for him.
Yeah, they already showed that.
Yeah, but not Kratos. He's
The
probably
secret ending
"Give me your boy."
of God of War 2018 is Thor shows up at the house.
which I think is gonna be our first battle.
That's gonna, yes, and we'll talk about what we think about Ragnarok. But here's what I'm gonna say: the first thing that happens in God of War Ragnarok, Thor shows up and beats the shit out of Kratos.
And he's gonna lose all of his powers, and
Of course, of course. You're like, huh. He's not gonna lose the blades
no,
because I know that the game you're gonna start with both of those.
do you think he's gonna break the axe?
No.
Do you think we're gonna still have the axe?
Yeah.
I have a feeling he's gonna break the axe, and we're gonna get
No. I just think he's going to humble Kratos. He's going to beat the fucking shit out of him. And then eventually you'll probably kill Thor and then you'll have Mjolnir. I think.
I thought you told me there was going to be one more game after this. Well, this is going
I
to be.
thought there was, but recently they said that this is just going to be 2 games and done. But then they could, I mean, it's because they set up in God of War 2018, they showed like in Tyr's secret like temple, they showed, you know, oh, here's Tyr traveling to the Greek realm and the Norse realm, and here's the Egyptian symbol, and you know, it's like, oh, so we're gonna fight like Moon Knight's god, you know?
We're going to fight Moon Knight.
We're gonna fight Moon Knight.
I would love for them to continue the franchise and we go to other godly worlds, but I feel like that it might not go well. Like, it might just get boring after that. Do you think? Like,
Yeah, I do.
so I guess we can save that for speculations, which are coming up on soon. You know, characters listed also. Odin, we hear more about him, but we don't
Yeah.
really see him in this game. We see a lot of his, like, there's kind of like a trophy you can get if you get all the Odin crows, which I did this time.
Ravens.
The Ravens, which I did in this.
Oh, guess
in my
what?
replay.
They're coming back for Ragnarok.
Of course they are.
The worst collectible in the entire game is trying to find all those Odin Ravens. That's the only thing in the game that I used a guide on once I beat the game, and I was like, dude, I'm missing like 10 out
Yeah,
of 80
same.
of them.
After trying to do it on my own, but even though some of them, you just hear them and you'd be like, where the fuck is it?
Yeah. Some of them are pretty impossible to find unless you know where they are. Like one in particular, you go into a cave and you look up and the sun's shining through a crack in a ceiling, and it's like hard to look at.
Yep.
But if you focus long enough, you see one in the distance and you're like, how the fuck was anyone supposed to see that?
And you have to wait because sometimes it won't be in the right and it'll hop back and forth. Yeah, I remember that was one that I particularly remembered, like when I was going down the list, finally being like, look, I want to fucking just get all the stuff.
Yeah.
I think I platinumed that game. Yeah, I did.
I did.
I did recently. That was the first game I ever platinumed, now that I think about it. And boy, did it feel fucking good.
Yeah, not a lot of the game feels tedious, but I will say the Odin Ravens were very tedious, and Niflheim was very tedious.
Yes. There was
I like Muspelheim with all the trials.
Slime.
And you get to the top of the volcano and fight the Valkyrie. I thought that was really cool, but Niflheim, oof, please don't have anything really big happen there in the Ragnarok.
See, I think Muspelheim, it was kind of like it was kind of going back to the same thing that would be in the original God of Wars, where it would just be, because you don't get a lot of it's like mass amount of guys.
Yeah.
Like, and they were doing that, but they had a spin on it where it's like you can take the material you get from here to forge great armor, but at the same time, it was there would sometimes be different tasks you had to do within these battles, like beat these enemies in a bunch of rings, or like a
and the
timely
rings
manner.
can't move, or fight 50 enemies and don't get hit.
Oh,
Kill
I
100
hated
enemies
those.
in 5 minutes.
I did those, but boy, were those, because you'd be almost fucking done, and then one would just like throw something at you, and you'd be like,
and it's
fuck.
just like, oh, time to do that all over again. Yay.
But the battle style is always a lot of fun in that.
Yeah, it's hard not to have fun with those. And yeah, like you said, it definitely takes you back to the original games, because they always had, outside of the main game, they would have trials or challenges or whatever you want to call it. And a lot of the times they would unlock like costumes or cheats that you could enable in game, which always made the game fun. Like when you got the Cod of War costume and you just dress as a giant fish throughout the entire game.
Yep.
I love that.
The God of War. Like, I kept just collecting things and didn't realize what I had, so I would then go over like some of the stuff and I'd be like, what the fuck is this? I was interested in seeing that there was like, there's a lot of really cool looking armor you can get if you do the New Game Plus, which was what I was gonna do, but I already platinumed it, and I was like, kind of like, now at this point, I just want Ragnarok. I don't know if I want to go through everything again after just playing it all, like,
Yeah, because the update for New Game Plus came out like right after I platinumed the game, and I was like, well, now I'll play the hardest difficulty. And then it went from the first group of enemies killing me in 1 hit to killing me in 2. Wow. And I have the best armor fully upgraded, and they're still killing me in 1 hit.
Yeah, it ended up being a little tougher.
I did give up on Give Me God of War difficulty. Back in 2018, I remember spending, no joke, 2 full weeks trying to beat the Magdi and Modi boss fight. And as soon as I beat that, I just stopped playing the game. Luckily, there are checkpoints. Whenever you go, like you fight both of them at the same time, and then it goes into that thing where you and Atreus are back to back and you're trying to repel them.
Yes.
Those are checkpoints.
Yeah, I remember because when I first played the game, this is when I first picked it up. I sucked at this game. Like, I did pretty good, but I was definitely in the typical God of War manner. When you die enough times and it goes, do you want to change to a lower difficulty? And you're like, fuck you. I got this. They used to do that in every single God of War.
They don't do that in Give Me God of War. You can't change difficulty.
Well, yeah, and that you can't, but like these games in general,
Yeah.
like
They're like, are you a bitch? You want to be a little baby boy and go back to baby difficulty? Do you want your
baby of war?
Are you a boy or are you a daddy?
Or a baby?
You little baby.
Yeah, my first gameplay of this when, I took a break from gaming because I just didn't have a PlayStation 4 for the longest time. And then when I finally got back into gaming, I was still just trying to get back to used to the controls and the motor skills of playing a video game. And I was terrible at it. I beat it, but like, I couldn't even make a scratch on those fucking Valkyries. I don't think I ever even defeated one. And, I just remember having such a hard time. Even Maggie and Lisa. Maggie Simpson and Modi. Like, I remember when I first fought them in my first gameplay, like, it took me a couple times. Like, that's how I remember there was, like, kind of little checkpoints and stuff like that. And, boy, my second gameplay, though, and I gotta say, it was because Elden Ring made me a completely different, maybe a completely different player.
Yeah.
Where like before I would just be like, I don't want to die. I got to try not to die. And like this, like, and I would give up on like, especially the Valkyries, I would give up on them so easily. And going in after playing Elden Ring, I got better at figuring out parrying, like circling the like bad guys and figuring out how to take them out instead of just button mashing, like using the combos more, like the change stances. Like I didn't realize how much more of an impact they made in battle. And the Valkyries were not as hard as they were for me. And like I even told Josh, and I made the biggest mistake, and I probably mentioned it on a previous episode. I actually almost defeated I wish I recorded it. I almost defeated the Valkyrie Queen my first try.
I don't believe you.
It's true. It happened. But what ended up happening was I was still very low on health. I used my rune already where I get brought back to life. And I got her down so low, and I got so excited that I was like, I'm going to defeat her on my first try. So instead of doing what I was doing, which was taking my time, parrying, because Josh kind of helped me with this. Like he told me she's like every Valkyrie you fought. She's got like all the same things. And like, I just took that knowledge and was like, okay, I know how to dodge this. I know how to parry this. And she was like, probably like maybe like 2 or 3 more hits to be gone. And instead of doing what I was doing, I was like, let me just fucking hit her as much as I can and she'll die. And then boom, she killed me. And then it became a struggle because I just got frustrated and was like, I was so fucking close. And it took me a few times, but then I finally defeated her. But man, those Valkyries, again, Elden Ring helped me. It's all about timing. You can't just fucking go like button mashing in there. You can't.
Nope. No, you can't.
But
you're right.
Those fights were fucking great, especially the Valkyrie Queen. Like, I loved the Valkyrie fights. And then when I beat them, I was like, what now?
Nothing.
Nothing.
There's nothing left to do.
Yeah.
Unless you didn't beat the game, and even beating the game is pretty anticlimactic compared to those fights.
Yeah, no, 100%. I want to say like, well, yeah, I know we have this listed a little later, but I think this would probably be the best thing to get into. What would you say? Because we're gonna kind of go off of the game in a little bit and talk about other things that like we would like to think that the game reference. So I think this is the best place to bring up this. What would you say that your top epic moment in this game, Josh, was like for you, where you were like, fuck yeah?
Definitely the part where you get to the top of the mountain in Midgard. You fight the dragon that was attacking Sindri, and when you kill it, it falls, and you are standing, and its open mouth lands around you, and you just see right over Kratos' shoulder that perspective of the dragon dying and just landing, and you're in its mouth, and just you're like, oh my god, that was fucking cool.
And Kratos is just like, yep, a normal day.
Yeah, even Atreus is like, "Can you kill something that big?" And he's like, "Yeah, probably.
This is nothing.
This is fucking nothing compared to what I've killed."
Yeah, that is definitely one of the most epic moments. Oh god, that was gonna be one of my first choices. But like that's when you're like, this game is fucking awesome. Like it gives you.
Yeah, I would say second place is the last fight with Balder, where Freya is using the giant of Thamur.
Yep, that's actually what my
using
most
that
epic,
corpse to attack you. Yeah.
That was gonna be my epic moment because it's so we see this giant frozen in the snow. We think like, oh wow, that giant's fucking huge, and then what ends up happening? Freya gets pissed at you, is trying to stop you from fighting Boulder, and she resurrects, not really resurrects, but kind of controls this giant, and it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
You know, that is my epic moment where you're just like, holy shit! Like this this game just keeps topping itself. You know, in my personal opinion, you know, but we get plenty of like, you know, actually, since you kind of said that one too as like your second, I would say that's my first, but even though this came before, I would say my second one is when Baldur's riding a dragon and he takes Atreus and you fight on the fucking dragon.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, so that's I can't wait for this new game, and I'm gonna keep saying that. Now you wanted to discuss something where there are clearly, and I'll let you drive on this one, Josh. There are clearly some similarities to another game that's very much like this.
Yeah, the character development between Kratos and Atreus, as far as a family, as far as a father-son relationship, it develops slowly throughout the game as they begin to trust each other and actually bond. And it's very similar to the development of Joel and Ellie in the first Last of Us game, where both of them are somewhat estranged. Like Atreus at the beginning doesn't really know a lot about Kratos. He'd always kind of, you know, been with his mother because Kratos would always be away. He always thought that he resented him. He didn't care about him because he looked at him as weak. And, you know, over the course of the game, with Atreus growing, you know, not just as a son, but as a warrior, like you even see that as at the beginning of the game, Atreus barely does anything without Kratos telling you to do it. And then he starts getting more and more adept, and then he'll start holding down enemies or attacking them himself or stunning them or doing things on his own. And then you kind of get that because like the beginning of the game, like how many times during that game are there moments where Kratos like reaches out to like console his, and then he like thinks twice about it. And then the very end of the game, he's like, I'll finally put my hand on my son's shoulder.
It's okay to show love.
I'm not gay. I may be from Greece, but I am not gay.
Especially for my son.
Not gay. Oh.
So good.
Not homosexual.
Do you think like and maybe I didn't think of this too, and I guess they do kind of talk about it, where you're saying like as you go through the game, Atreus is getting better, he's getting stronger, because we're kind of understanding too at the beginning of the game that like he was sick for a while, like because you know, he's like, I've been better, I'm not sick anymore, but
well, you know why he was sick, right?
And that's because Kratos was fighting with who he is, right? Is that
not Kratos? Atreus wasn't aware of who he truly was, so he thought he was just the son of a woman. He didn't know he was half god. I won't even say half, part god, part human, part giant.
Well, he's not really. Well, I guess Kratos is.
Well, Faye is part human and part giant.
Oh, I thought she was just a giant.
No, she's half human, half giant.
Okay.
So that's why she wasn't giant.
But I thought they explained that giants were also a race of people. Like there were small giants. Well, I guess those were half giants then.
Yeah, probably people just fuck normal people.
Imagine
Yeah,
being
and he was
fucked by a
fighting that.
giant. That giant was huge. Just you stick the woman on your
You
dick.
ain't fucking anyone else after that, that's for sure. Because they are split in two.
Just put them on your dick.
So as I was saying, the character development.
You wear like a fucking Jimmy cap, like a fucking condom.
Just like a whole house is your condom.
Oh.
Like their cabin. You just put it on your giant dickhead. It's like, all right, honey, jump on. It's like, where is this going? It can't possibly go in me.
You're about
I could go in it.
You're about to become.
This is my home.
You're about to become 3 feet wider.
Yeah. You're going to be fucking pooping silver platters from here on out.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah. So that was my favorite scene in the game where a giant fucks a lady and you actually see penetration. No, that doesn't happen.
But I'm just trying to understand. So, like, are you saying
Yes,
it's because
he was-
Atreus didn't know
His
who?
sickness was because he was not aware of who he truly was. Mimir says it. Freya says it multiple times.
That's just
The boy
silly.
needs to know who he really is, or his mind, his soul will be conflicted.
Because he's like coughing up blood and like his
Yeah.
body's like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah, he almost kills himself when he tries to go into Spartan rage mode.
Yeah.
And he's like, and Magni's just like, oh, it looks like he fucking short circuited.
Did he say like he shit himself or something? Like he pissed himself. That's just like,
Something like that.
you've gone and pissed yourself.
No, I don't think he said
He
that.
didn't sound like that either.
You're going and pissed yourself. I'm Magni.
He sounded like a fucking southern
Southern shrimp boat captain. Oh, you gotta keep 'em separated.
Hey, yeah. No, hey. I
Keep the
know we're
crawfish
18,
over
but
there,
we're
no.
doing on the time.
Langoustines over there.
But like, so that's why I was like, I think that's a little too on the nose. Like he's dying because he doesn't know who he truly is. Like, but that doesn't take away from the game. I think that's awesome. But I guess, I thought it was a little bit more than that. I thought he was sick because of something, and that shows like he does have some sort of mortality, but I guess it's a conflict of who he is.
Yeah. It's because he's human, but he's also superhuman, and his body doesn't know how to take it.
Do you think he's a Superman when he listens to that song by Goldfinger every day?
Nope. He's Loki, the god of mischief.
Which I'm wondering how they're gonna make that into play. Like,
Well, they've already shown it.
like he's mischievous. I actually was thinking, what if they make it that Atreus is like, he's Loki, but this whole time it's just like he is another god and has been playing with Kratos this entire time.
That'd be so stupid.
Isn't that what Athena did to him in the original God of Wars? Like Athena kind of fucked with him. Like,
No, but that was just Athena.
yeah.
She wasn't like pretending to be someone else. She
True.
wasn't pretending to be his son for like 20 years.
But she
She
did
was just
lie to him.
manipulating him, yeah.
So I was wondering if they did the same thing, and Loki's kind of not really his son, and they just make it as, what would you do if they did that? It'd be stupid if they did, my honest opinion. But
Yeah, I wouldn't like that.
it would just be like this whole time he didn't really have a son, and this would just be Kratos being like, it's the gods playing a trick on me, and that would make sense of the world serpent coming out of Kratos, and it'd be Loki's plan the whole time being like, my trick was to use you to create a new world serpent or something. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, because that would be
That sounds so
fucking-
stupid.
That would be
You better be
so-
fucking wrong. It's going to go from like master class in story writing to like, I was actually Odin the whole time.
I was Odin's son, because Loki's the adopted pretty much, actually. Well, from the Marvel series. That's what I'm going off of, my history of Loki. Marvel 101.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't try to be like, he wasn't Kratos' boy. He was Odin's the whole team.
Yeah, I would not be happy about that. But you
That'd be
did
so
say he did go
stupid.
into Spartan Rage, too, so he is
Yeah.
his son.
I mean, it broke his brain when he did it, but he did it.
He shot himself.
He pooped lightning out of his body.
That would hurt, man. That would definitely.
I mean, fuck, yeah.
Is there anything we missed about talking about God of War 2018 at all that you want to discuss any further?
We didn't talk about cool bosses. You wanted to go through the bosses.
Oh yeah, we kind of went through the bosses we talked about, but we went through. No, we didn't actually.
Nope.
We didn't go. We went through characters, but not the bosses. So that's my fault.
I mean, there wasn't many bosses.
True.
You know, Baldur is one of them. Baldur's actually two of them. We fight Magni and Modi. That dragon, what's the name? It's like Harazler or something.
Yeah, Harazzler.
Yeah. It's probably pronounced
Harazzle
way different.
Dazzle.
Harazzle Dazzle. Yeah, what's that Dark Elf King's name, Andrew? Why don't you read that? Read his name.
His name. Oh, the Dark Elf. That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. The Dark Elf is Jeffrey Feinstein. He was
Nope.
in the.
Svartal Yikfer.
I bet that's not even how you say it either, but it's better than how I would have pronounced it.
True.
I do see listed, but we do have 2 Valkyries. I believe there's 2 Valkyries that you have to fight in the main storyline. I believe. I could be wrong. We got Sigrun and
Sigrun's the Valkyrie Queen. You do not have to fight
okay,
Sigrun.
so I'm wrong. And then I
Yeah.
see Gondul.
You don't have to fight any Valkyrie.
Those are listed as the main ones.
You don't have to fight any
Okay.
Valkyrie in this game.
Then I just fought them on my own.
Yeah, you did, Bubba.
Yeah, there's not a lot of main boss fights. There are a lot of mini boss fights, but we discussed it off mic, and I think we didn't talk about it in this, but a lot of them are very repetitive.
Yeah, they're fun. They're just giant trolls. Usually have some sort of weapon, sometimes summon enemies, but and this is definitely one of the biggest, pretty much the only issue I have with this game is that those are just, I mean, it almost feels like an old NES game where they just reskin an enemy and it's like, oh, it's now more powerful. It's just a stronger version of this other thing because now it's blue. But like the death animation is the same exact thing for every single one, except
Every
the very
single one.
first one in the beginning of the tutorial level, where that one you snap its neck. Every single other one, you do that thing where you climb up its back, hit it in the head, and then grab the pillar thing and crush its head with it. Every single one of them.
Yeah,
You fight a lot of them too, at least like 10.
them and the Soul Eaters,
Yeah.
which is the same. You just rip them in half, but I was telling Josh that that I remember having so much trouble with them, but once you fucking get the Frost Beam, they're pretty fucking easy.
They
to
ain't
defeat.
shit. Just hit them in their weakness.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about it, but these are like a couple of the things that I'm hoping they implement better in the new game.
Yeah.
Instead of making some things repetitive. Yeah, they're fun, but if you're looking to be a completist, it does get a little mundane. You do get the dopamine hit being like that was fucking easy, but again, after playing Elden Ring, the diversity, like they did have a lot of repetitive mini bosses, but then they did also have a lot of bigger bosses that were a lot more different. And even if they were repetitive, they changed. Like it wasn't like the same. Like
Every Elden Ring boss, once you hit like the halfway point, completely changed their tactics, their aggressiveness. And I hope that they do something similar in this game. I hope that enemies will learn and not just fucking run at you and expect to be hit. Like they will parry, they'll counter, they'll use the environment. I know that we're probably going to see a lot more use of the environment, like traversal. Like, I know that we're going to be able to use the blades to like leap up to different places, and then we can do like jumping attacks off things onto people. So they're definitely expanding the combat in Ragnarok. I know that they're doing that. So I just need to see how it's implemented. And I think it's going to, they basically took all the complaints people had from the first about how to improve the combat and the enemy variety and even like death animations of enemies, and they're implementing it in this game.
Yeah, I really hope to see that, and I hope we see more of the combos integrated with the different elements and weapons. I would like, they did kind of do that in this one a little bit, but I would like to see a little bit more that you don't have to completely change your weapons, like to do those particular combos. I would like a mixture combo where you throw the axe and maybe grab the axe with the chaos blades and spin it, or do something crazy. Like, I want more of him using this different weapons at the same time. I would fucking love if they did that.
We'll see. Yeah, I agree.
Is there, we did talk about the dragon fight with your epic thing. That was also a lot of fun, but I guess we could mix the talk of the bosses of some things that I would like to change and that I hope they do in Ragnarok. Like that, whatever, the dragon fight, whatever. I forgot what you said. Harazzle dazzle.
You said that. I didn't. I said the thing's name.
That dragon fight's really cool, but there is a point where they kind of give you, and again, I think it's because we played Elden Ring and we liked that it was like, you better figure out how to fight this thing or you're fucked. Where the dragon kind of like stops a little bit and is like, see these red glowing sticky things that you have to break and throw off me? Make sure you understand that this is this. And, it kind of was a little hand-holdy in that, which I get some games do that because they don't want people to be, like discouraged, but like I really want more of a fucking challenge in this game. Like, I guess you could up the difficulty, but I want more, like you said, I want the bosses to be smart. I want the villains, the enemies just to be smarter, and I want it more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't ever want to get to a point in the game where I feel like I'm just dominating enemies. I want it to always feel like each encounter is something that I have to be very strategic with. And I want that feeling for the entire game.
I think I might just go into this hard mode. I might just try.
Pussy.
And see what happens.
I ain't doing that shit. Fuck that.
Why'd you call me a pussy for doing that?
Because you're a bitch. I'm going to play hard mode.
Well, I'm going to see how I do. Like, just start off on hard mode and just see how it goes. And
I can't wait until you're like, I had to put it on a fucking baby mode real quick.
Baby mode.
I'm a boy.
I'm going to try. We'll see what happens.
Well, have fun, loser.
Boy. Is there anything like, a memorable boss fight, like, the Magni and Modi fight was pretty cool, but like when they do we're charging up together, brother, which reminds me of the scene in Boondock Saints when they're in the fucking prison and how like they're both like, oh,
that's so stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid, but
Rudy and Modi. Yeah. That was very dumb.
Yeah, it was dumb. And they don't explain it at all what that fucking was. I'm like, so do they have powers? And that's
clearly, they're sons of Thor, so.
Well, I'm talking about in Boondock Saints. But anyway, yeah. Yeah.
No, in that they were being spoken to by God.
I hate that. I forgot that that's what it was. I thought they were just like... But what other things, Josh, are you hoping that, what are our speculations for the new one? What are you hoping they implement for gameplay?
Well, we've already kind of talked about, just expanding the combat, allowing us for more exploration, allowing us to see all of the realms. Even if we're just re-seeing realms we've already seen, because now it's going to be a completely different environment, so traversal will be completely different. I do want to see, because I know with this one, it's more going to be Kratos is following Atreus's lead, because Atreus is the one who's trying to uncover how they like start Ragnarok, or even maybe they're trying to prevent it. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to kill all the fucking gods. Maybe they just want to be left alone. Maybe they inadvertently do it. I would love to see what they're going to do for optional super bosses instead of Valkyries. What else could there be?
Yeah, well, we did see Valkyries but it looks like Valkyries in space. That's what it kind of looked like in the trailer.
Yeah, in some realm. I don't know.
Probably where they're all dead. They kind of look like zombified. Like they could be
The
half dead Valkyries.
All-Father demands it.
But I don't think they're going to be hunting gods in this. What it seems like it's going to be kind of similar to the other one where the gods are just coming for them. And I think I agree with you. I think especially Kratos, I think they want to be left alone. But it does seem like Atreus is bringing them on some sort of journey. We really don't know what it is. And I think it is to maybe stop Ragnarok or bring the world back to the norm, possibly. Yeah. But because Odin does know the prophecy. I believe he does.
That's his thing. Yeah, he wants to know all of the prophecies and figure out ways to prevent them, or prevent what happens in those prophecies. That's just Odin lore from everything. So
it's going to be interesting to see. I do hope they make the game not vastly different, but like the gameplay a little bit different, because I don't want the same game. I don't want this to feel like a DLC with a same tactics and stuff like that. Like, I really hope they really expand. I think the blacksmithing might be a little different. I think they're going to I would love if they made that a little different, like the same, but like now we have the brothers together immediately. Maybe they might be fighting again by the time we get back.
Who knows?
But I hope they expand on the upgrading. I loved the upgrading of it, but I'm kind of hoping it's a little bit more intricate. I kind of hope they expand more on the perks weapon wise a little bit more.
Okay.
Because I felt like the perks, they were based on runes and stuff like that. But I would love more if like you can get different types.
What do you mean perks were based on runes? Perks were weapon and armor based.
Well, they were weapon and armor based, but you can this is more runic, where it would be more for like your attacks on this. But I would love if we got like maybe different specialer attacks that you would get. Specialer. Better attacks that are based on like different weapons, and you wouldn't have that attack if you didn't have this particular armor. Like, make it a little bit more expansive. That's, I guess, what I would like.
They're going to.
I'm hoping.
They are definitely expanding on everything.
Yeah.
Because their biggest focus was to take feedback from the people that loved God of War and made it Game of the Year, and giving them more. So I have no doubt they're going to meet, if not exceed, my expectations. Yeah. I have full confidence in this studio.
And I do too. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but I know I can, because if you think about it, every one I've played, and I even like the PlayStation ones, and I did skip 2, but from every one I played onwards, they have exceeded my expectations, and they've just made the franchise better and better every time we get a new installment of these games.
Yeah. I agree.
So, I'm very excited about it. I think I can't wait for us to review it. Like, all my free time is going to be to play this game, and I'm going to try to platinum it.
Like I'm definitely going to. Yeah, there's no doubt. Unless there's some like weird multiplayer fucking badges, which I doubt it.
Do you think they'd go multiplayer with this?
No, I don't.
Imagine.
Yeah, there's like a factions thing where you just pick one of the gods and here's a gun. It's just a run and gun thing.
I guess they would just save that for Fortnite. Wouldn't be surprised if Fortnite comes out with like Ragnarok skins.
Yeah, Kratos is in it. It's just that fucking so stupid.
I like that game though. It's fun to play.
Sure.
But Josh, now that we've gone over anything, is there anything last minute thoughts or anything about the game you want to talk about before we bring this to an end?
No. boy.
Well, you've heard it here, boys.
No boys.
I'm really fucking excited about this game. And, if I should have said this at the beginning, like if you're just chiming into this episode, for the next 2 months, we will be discussing all things war-based with video games and video game movies, or movies that are influenced by video games, leading up to our discussion of Thor Ragnarok. And I know there were some...
Did you just say Thor
Thor,
Ragnarok?
I did say that.
You fucking imbecile.
God of War Ragnarok. And there was some confusion on Facebook where some people were like, oh, well, that game comes out on November 9th, right?
One person said something
Well,
because of the way I worded it.
But still, if somebody's listening to this, they might say the same thing. So
But I
it's
also,
over.
if they just keep reading, I
But
fixed it.
I'm just mentioning that
Yeah.
it was a thing on Facebook. So if
Yeah.
somebody listening might be thinking the same
The
thing.
game comes out November 9th, and we will be reviewing it sometime in December.
Because we need time to play this game. And I just don't want to stop and give you... I guess we will probably talk
No.
about our first...
We are not recording it until we finish the game.
No,
matter
obviously. But what I'm saying is when we're doing our war run, we might discuss our first thoughts of the game, like at the beginning of
I'm
one of the
sure.
episodes
Yes.
or something like that.
Absolutely.
So, but I am so fucking looking forward to playing this game. We got 2 weeks, buddy. Whew, boy, is it going to be good. But within these boy, is it going to be good. But within these 2 weeks, Josh, we will be discussing 2 other things. But we're just going to narrow on, what are we discussing next week, Josh?
Next week, we are discussing the fucking probably garbage movie Warcraft.
Which I believe it's still one of the top box office making games. Well, this movie, I believe, is one of the top video game adaptations movies of all time. I believe it's still one of the top grossing ones, like it made.
Well, Warcraft has a very large audience and fan base. So
100%.
Yeah.
So, but from what I've heard about this movie, it did not do well, like in review stance.
So how is it the top grossing of all time if it didn't do well?
Because it probably just did well in movie theaters. A lot of fans went to saw it. Fucking
So you mean that critics said it wasn't good?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck about
critically,
critics?
it wasn't that well received. But come on, like those Venom movies suck, but they still made like $1 billion in the fucking box office. So it has a huge fan base, so people are gonna go see it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are gonna finally leave their mom's basement and go to see the World of Warcraft.
The fuck is wrong
Just
with you?
making a joke.
You are the only one that lives in your fucking mom's house.
Not the basement. I live in the attic.
You fucking idiot.
But if you're mad at me for the comment that I made, you're like, Andrew, what the fuck was that? That was a very stupid thing to say. You can always reach out to us on 8bitmoviereview@gmail.com. Don't forget, that's the number 8. Don't forget that, Josh. Number 8.
I've never forgotten.
bitmoviereview@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are now also posting our audio on YouTube. So make sure you go there and click that little describey link right there to subscribe. Describe. I fucked up.
What the fuck?
Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. That's all I'm pretty much saying. Yeah, it's just audio right now. I made a nice little cool video. I hope you enjoy the intro at the beginning, but we will be doing actual video soon.
Wow. So Andrew can't fucking talk. Anyway, if you want to listen to our backlog of video game reviews or movie reviews or video game discussions, you can go to our website at anchor.fm/8bitpod, which will lead you to all of our streaming options, which includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Feel free to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and Andrew will never, ever read your comment live on the show.
Not live.
It'll sit in the fucking abyss forever.
I'm Andrew Gonzalez.
And I am Josh Edgington.
And join us next week for our war months. Gonna cut that
War months.
shit. Months.